So today is a incredibly special day. Today we're going to be introducing something that I've really been wanting to put in Nimble really since we started, email sequences. And so I just want to welcome everybody and thank everybody for spending a little bit of time with us today. Today we've got a special guest, Tom Martin. Tom is not only a longtime Nimble customer, but he's one of the people I really admire as somebody who's out there teaching and preaching, helping people to use tools like Nimble. You know, the thing is we build a fishing pole, and it's a great fishing pole. But if you've ever gone fly fishing, it takes a little bit of skill to figure out what to put on the hook and how to cast it and where to cast it and where not to. And so Tom teaches sales teams and businesses how to fish. And he's going to talk a little bit about how he's using the new Nimble sequences to power some of the things he's been teaching. So we're real excited to have Tom with us here today. And let me go ahead and get that slide going. So for those that don't know, Tom's with Converse Digital, and not only he's written a book on sales, but he really is skilled at scaling people, and he's worked with a lot of our Nimble customers. So Tom, thanks for coming.
Happy to be here.
And for those that don't know my background, well, heck, I've been making software since the beginning of time, back in so-called DOS days. And if you know what DOS is, you just aged yourself. But I started building software because I had a problem. I struggled to build relationships at scale. And I looked for a tool that would replace my daytimer with a daytimer that worked through all my team's daytimers. Because my dad used to teach me that it's teams that win games, and salespeople don't work in a vacuum. They work as part of a larger team. And I couldn't find a team relationship manager, so I quit and built one called Goldmine. And that was a heck of a journey. And you can Google that and you'll see videos of me talking about that. But I'm here to talk about what we're building here today with Nimble. And Nimble is essentially a continuation of the journey of Goldmine. And really what sets Nimble apart is that it's relationship focused. And you may think, well, what the heck does that mean, relationship focused? Because heck, CRM stands for customer relationship management, but really CRM should stand for customer reporting management, because it's really not about empowering customer facing business team members as much as it is about empowering reporting, so management can track what salespeople do and don't do with the leads. And that's all well and good for management, but really the heart of CRM is things like Goldmine, Act, and Outlook. And that's really tools that power people to build relationships. That's the heart of Nimble. But beyond that, we got to do the sales and marketing things that you need to do to power and grow your business. And so if you, we're going to talk today a little bit about what sequences are and who they're for and who they're not for and what they're there to do and not do. And then we're going to go into a deep dive of sequences. Like, we changed the agenda around a little bit. So you got to be nimble, so to speak. So the team, Jenna and Gabby, and you're going to be in good hands with Jenna and Gabby. Jenna and Gabby are part of our fabulous marketing team at Nimble. And if I tell you the high vision story, they're going to tell you how to do it. And then Tom's going to share his experience with sequences, which I'm excited about. And all through it, we're going to ask you to post questions. We're going to compile those questions in the background, answer them in the background as we go, and then share them. And we'll do further Q&A at the end. And we got some special offers for you. So what sequences all about? Well, the idea is we all know what we should do as human beings, but we don't do it. Why? Because we're busy. It takes time. And did you know that they say it takes 22 touches before somebody's in a buying cycle, and most people give up after the first attempt, which is crazy, but it's hard. It's hard to reach out to people. I know, I've done it. I used to make 50, 60, 100 phone calls a day. And so we need tools, automation to help us do that. So when we first launched Nimble, we had the ability to send a templated trackable email to an individual. We had the ability to send a templated trackable email to a group. And that's all well and good, but one touch isn't going to do it. And so we wanted to build the ability for you to build a logical sequence. And that really goes back to the roots of Goldmine, where we trademarked automated processes 30 years ago. And that really was the beginning of market automation, which essentially says, if this, then that for people and companies. So if you put a contact in Nimble that looks like this, then do that. Day 1, do this. Day 7, do that. Day 14, do this, or whatever. You could have time-based logic separations, or you could have behavior, like if they open it, if they don't open it, if they reply, etc. And what you're going to see is we're going to not only are we doing sequences for these individual emails, but we're going to do sequences for market automation emails as well. So, what is SFA, Salesforce Automation? What is sales enablement tools? The thing is that they're all tools to help salespeople sell. And so, if you go buy something like Salesforce today, it doesn't have sequences in it like this. So you got to go buy Outreach.io or SalesLoft to get that to happen. And so salespeople have to buy all these tools to help them sell better. Things like Zoom Info, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Outreach.io, et cetera. We have all that built in Nimble now. And those tools are like rifles and maps for salespeople. It's the rifle to the sequenced email and the map, which is the intelligence, the data enrichment that we do. But you don't give salespeople the keys to the market automation system. Your Pardots, your Marketos. Those are the things that you basically use for the marketing teams. And so today we have the automations for the sales reps, or not just salespeople, because Nimble's not just salespeople; it's for the whole company. So sequences can be used for biz dev, PR, accounting, HR, and we'll get into that. But if you wanted to be able to send a newsletter to 10,000 people or a series of emails to 20,000 people, that's market automation. And guess what? That's coming to Nimble. You'll see it in the fall. So stay tuned with us. So this is designed for an individual or company to send a series of emails to a group of individuals, or it could be an individual. You could send a sequence to one person. And the idea is, let's say somebody inquires on your website, on your web form, and they fill out the form. Well, you want to be able to follow up with them and not just send them one email. You want to send them a series of emails. That's what sequences are for. If I'm going to prospect some names in LinkedIn and I want to reach out to people that look like this because they fit my product, and I want to reach out to see how I might help them. You could prospect on LinkedIn with Nimble's Prospector, and then you could use our sequences to basically start outreaching to them. And that's what sequences is all about. So sequences enables you to do a series of touches based off time and based off their behavior and non-behavior to drive the behavior you want. And the behavior you want is just get people on the phone, to talk to them, to find out how you might help them. And no, sequences isn't something to pound people till they buy or die. Sequences is a way for you to infuse a little bit of humanity so that you could actually get people on the phone to find ways to serve them. And I think that's what differentiates good salespeople from bad salespeople. Is I think that sales is the new service is the new sales, and that you're there to find as many people you can outgrow. And so if you go into it with that mindset and you reach out in a personal, relevant, authentic way, and you don't just send a templated email to each person, but what you do is you send a templated email to a group, but you basically put a snippet in the front of that template where you put a paragraph in a field in each record where you've gone to the trouble of looking at that person's background, looking at their company, and figuring out how you might be able to add value, where you personalize the beginning of the email. Then when you send out 100 emails, it feels like you're touching them because it's personal. And so snippets can be inserted into templates that can make outreach personal. And so Nimble's sequences are really great for prospecting, qualifying leads, dealing with HR inquiries, etc. And Jenna and Gabby are going to take it away now, and they're going to show you a little bit more in detail. But be sure to follow up with us, because we're going to have webinars where we're going to just spend the whole hour where we're just going to do a deep dive into all of this, including what's coming up, which is integrations of sequences to workflows, to webhooks and web forms. And I don't want to steal any thunder. So Jenna and Gabby, take it away and tell us how to do that.
Absolutely, Gabby, I can take it from here. And I can also start sharing my screen as well. But before I do dive in, I did want to introduce myself. If those of you who don't know me, I'm Jenna, and I'm part of the marketing team at Nimble. I am the product marketing lead. So I do know a little bit about email sequences, and you're in good hands today, especially with Gabby as well. And also, I am the partner manager as well, for those of you who don't already know. But throughout my portion of the presentation today, I kind of want to walk through what John spoke about before, and that Nimble isn't just a place to bring in leads and organize leads, but it's also a place to move those leads into an email sequence and bring those touches into place. So you're not just actively bringing those contacts and leads in, but you're also engaging them and nurturing those conversations and those relationships as well. So what I'll do is I'll walk through how to actually scrape information from social profiles like LinkedIn and other web pages to bring in leads into your database. And then I'll walk through how to organize them, put them into a sequence, and then I'll also walk through a super basic sequence on how to set it up as well. And then I'll hand it over to Gabby to walk more about the reports and what it looks like to see the active engagements throughout the email sequences as well. So with that, I'm going to go to a LinkedIn profile here. So say, for example, I'm actively prospecting some leads and maybe I'm working within a social profile or a web page, and even Nimble does work pretty much wherever you work. So even if you're on your mobile app or any web page that has some social profiles or even contact information. So for example, I will use Nimble Prospector and I'll just click the Prospector app here. And then maybe this is a prospect I'm interested in putting into my Nimble database. With that, I didn't even have to press anything. Nimble automatically finds a contact record and enriches it for me. So I can click into here. And maybe this contact is a good fit for prospecting. Maybe I want to outreach to Jen and I think she's a really great fit. And I want to start nurturing that relationship and sending her some emails, whether that's, a sales qualifying engagement, or maybe I just want to connect with her and learn more about what she does. From here, you can see that Nimble does take things like avatar, first and last name. It even hyperlinked her LinkedIn profile, which is great. And then also some really awesome information here is that they actually found her email address and her work address as well. So it's nothing I really have to do. Nimble enriches the contact record for me. And from here, say that this is a contact that I do want to add into my database. I can press add contact here. And now Jen is part of my database and she's now a prospect. Now, depending on where you bring your contacts in, again, it could be from a CSV file, but of course, if you're actively prospecting these people through web pages like LinkedIn, there's plenty of opportunities for you to start putting them into a sequence right away. Or what you can also do is tag them as well. So say you're bringing in contact by contact, you can also put them into the sequence by scrolling down here and adding them to a sequence by pressing this button. And then it will just ask to select the email and select the sequence. But also something that's really important too. So say you're really getting into the groove of putting prospects into LinkedIn and putting them into your Nimble profile. What you could also do is tag them or even segment them. And for those of you who don't know what tagging and segmenting is, it's a way for you to categorize and label contacts based on a specific, category or label. So for example, maybe I have Jen here and I want to tag her as LinkedIn prospector or sales prospecting. Or even, for example, if you're reaching out to people who are in podcasting, I might want to tag them podcaster. That way, if I have that label set up and I want to move all those people into a specific email sequence, I can do that. And I'll walk through what that looks like as well. So of course, you have the option to put contacts in contact by contact into your email sequence, but you always have the option to go by tag and segment too. And I'll walk through how to do that as well. So even, for example, I'm on the contact record here. I can even scroll down, click add tag, and maybe I want to do LinkedIn sales prospecting. Now she's part of my tag. From here, I'm going to go to the contacts tab here and say, for example, I want to add just a generic contact to my email sequence. I can go into a contact record here. I can scroll down, and of course, all these tabs on the left-hand side are customizable, so you don't have to scroll down, but you can click add to sequence here. Again, you can choose the email that you want to send to and select the sequence that you want to put them in. And like I said before, you can also use this in a scenario where you have a tag of contacts or a segment of contacts. So for example, if I scroll down here and I go to my tags, maybe I'll go to my LinkedIn sales prospecting tag that I showed before. I will let that load. And then from here, I can select all, click actions, and add them to a message sequence, and it will give me a drop down of which sequence I'd like to add them to. And the same exact thing works for segment. Segments is a little bit different than tags. It's a little bit more dynamic. Basically, what you can do is you can use things like tags, city, title, and even any data fields that you have as a contact filter and segment those out. And then you can both move them into a sequence as well. So if you're actively looking for people who are CMOs or CFOs, or even someone who's in a specific city, if you're a real estate agent, for example, it does make it a little bit easier to bulk move those people into an email sequence as well. And then last but not least, you can also go to your sequences, go to your sequence, press add contact here. Then you can search for a specific contact, or you can just click into any of these and add these selected contacts into a sequence. So you do have a couple of options on how you choose to bring contacts into a sequence. Again, you can do it one by one via LinkedIn Prospector, the contacts tab, or you can even do it by sequence. And then of course, if you want to bulk move contacts into a sequence, tagging and segmenting is a really good option for that. Plus an extra is that your contact database is also organized, which is super important. But from here, I'm going to walk through how to create a new segment. And again, I'll go over the super basics here, but we do have upcoming webinars as well that go super deep dive into sequences. And we'll put it in the chat box as well. That'll be on June 19th at 1 p.m. But I'll go over a basic sequence just to kind of walk through what it would look like to make a sequence and how you would use it.
Jenna, before you go into using the UI to create the sequence, can you go to the Nimble blog post on sequences and show them the graphic about the high level view of that, how sequences are a series of emails that can be sent to an individual or group of clients based off of time or logic? Because I think that the graphic really helps to illustrate that.
Sure can.
Great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And what you'll find is that we have blog posts on new features, and we also have FAQs on new features. The difference is the blog post is a high level sort of view of it, and the FAQ is more technical how to. Go ahead, Jen.
So we have this graphic here that walks through a specific example, and I'll walk through one too as well. But say, for example, you have someone who signs up for a newsletter, then you can immediately give them a initial email that says, welcome to your newsletter. You can sign up for more information, and then they receive a more info email. And then you have delays in between as well, which I'll walk through how to set those up and what that looks like. But say, for example, maybe you have a newsletter that goes out once a month, or maybe you have a follow-up email. You can always put a delay condition in between those. So you can have a delay between the previous email and the next email. And then there's some other graphics in here, which I'll walk through as well. So you can have an initial action where a contact moves from an initial action to the first email. And then again, you can have a delay and a condition associated with it. And I'll also walk through that through the Nimble platform as well. And then you have activity-based triggers, and I'll also walk through that. That's called a condition, where you can move contacts out of the sequence, exit them successful or unsuccessful based on an action or a behavior they do in the email. So maybe they bounce, for example, that email address bounces. You can move them out of the workflow as unsuccessful. Or for example—
And Jenna, what is a bounce?
Yep, so a bounce is when an email address goes into your sequence and it's unreachable. You can take them out of the sequence, so you don't want to continuously email that person or that email address that has not been delivered to, or it's, an error in the email address.
Okay. And then the whole point of a sequence, ideally, is to get somebody to open it and then reply. And so that's probably one of the biggest exits that people would do, is if they reply to you, you don't want to keep sending them an automated email. You want to basically take them out and actually reply back and dance with them. Go ahead, Tim.
Of course. And then from here, I'm just going to go back to the Nimble platform. And from here, and I'll show you how all those delays and conditions work with the emails as well. So I'll click the new sequence here, and I'm just going to title it LinkedIn Sales Prospecting, for example. And you can also share it with the whole team as well. So if you want to share it with your other team members and they have access to this, you can do that. From here, it's going to take you to the compose form. So again, if those of you who are new to Nimble who haven't used it before, this is what the compose form looks like. And just something else to note on email sequencing and emails in general out of Nimble is that any email sequence that you create isn't from like a non-reply address or a non-reply domain. It does come from the email address you provide. So for example, here I have a Gmail account, or I can even send it from my Outlook account. This counts as a one-on-one email to all the people you are sending to, which not only helps with deliverability, but it also helps with engagement as well, because it's not like an email from a non-reply and a do not reply It does make it look more personal. And then, of course, it does help with engagement as well. But just wanted to point that out. And a couple of things about the compose form before I walk through the specific conditions and what it looks like to actually set up a sequence. You can start creating your email from scratch here. And we do have some editor commands where you can make the email super personalized. So you can insert your signature here. You can add a merge tag, which basically means any data field on the contact record can be made personalized into the email. So things like first name, last name, company name, just to make it a little bit more of a warm outreach, especially again with this use case, if I'm, reaching out to people I found on LinkedIn, I might want to talk about, hey, I know the weather's warm in California. Great time to start selling, summer houses, for example. So I can make it really personalized. And again, you can either start the email from scratch, or what you could also do is create templates ahead of time and then go to your templates tab and choose those emails. And Nimble is actually making it a lot easier for you. We will be creating email sequence templates, and that'll be upcoming in the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. So if you're kind of not sure on where to start with your email sequence, we will have templates for you to start from. And it'll just be a little bit easier transition. But just wanted to put that out there, and I'm excited about that for myself as well. So from here, I have a template, and I'll just click this one, for example. So I might just have a Let's Connect email here. I want to warm up to the people who I have in my LinkedIn tag. So the people that I brought and scraped from LinkedIn via the prospector, maybe I tag them or just manually move them into my sequence. This would be the first email that they see. Now from here, I might have a message step name, and this is just for yourself. No one else will see it. So it's just for internal purposes. So I might put email 1, let's connect. And a couple of things with this email too. You can, of course, it'll automatically keep the tracking on. For any reason that you don't want to keep the tracking on, you can always toggle it off, but who doesn't want to see that tracking? And then you can send yourself a test email too, always helps. And then of course, if you're happy with the email, you can save that message here. So I'll click this and I'll save that as a message. So now this is my first email that everyone will receive when they immediately go into the email sequence. From here, if I click the add button, I'll walk through each individual condition and what it means. So first we have the delay condition. Then we have condition, which, again, talks about those contact filters and behaviors. And then you have wait for condition, which is pretty much the same thing, but you do have a time interval and time period there. So first, I'm going to walk through delay. And delay interval means that you're putting a time period between the previous email and the next email. So for example, I have email 1 here. Maybe I want to wait 5 days for that next email to go out. I can put days. I can also add hours, and I can also add specific weekday. And maybe, I have that 5-day rolling basis, but I don't want to email those people on the weekend. I can click off Saturday and exclude weekends. And also another update to look out for too, and we want to make it super easy for everyone, is that we will be adding a calendar view here. So if you want that time delay to go on a specific date, that will also be available soon. But again, just to go back to the delay settings, it means that if you have email 1 going out, and then maybe you want to wait 5 days, for example, for the next one, you would use the delay condition. From here, I'm just going to delete delay so I can go to the next condition and walk you through that. From here, we have condition. And again, this means when you exit a contact, successful or unsuccessful from the email sequence based on a message condition or a contact filter. So for example, like John said before, you can exit the contact successful if they replied to that email. Or even, for example, I can exit the contact unsuccessful if that email has been bounced. And then also too, you have the option to do a condition based on a contact filter. So you can go to contact here, and you can exit the contact again, successful or unsuccessful based on any contact filter that you set, which is super similar to the segment tab I showed before. So you can do it by tag, by title, or any other data field that you have in your database as well. And I'm just going to delete this and go to the next one. From here, you have wait for condition. And again, it's pretty much the same. You can exit the contact based on message conditions. So again, previous message was replied to, or you can also do it by contact filter as well. And this just has a delay interval between that time period that you set for that condition as well. So it's very similar from the condition for the contact filter and email sequence behavior, but you put a specific time interval on that as well. And from here, I'm just going to summarize a little bit of these conditions. So again, you can put a delay in between your emails. So I can put a 5-day delay, a 7-day delay. I can put hours on it. And then I can also exclude weekdays or weekends or any specific day. And then you have condition. So if you want to exit a contact when they are replied to, or maybe you want to exit a contact unsuccessful if that email has been bounced, you can also do that. And then you can also do wait for conditions. So again, you can have that same condition done. But if you want to have it wait in a certain time period, you can also do that too. But kind of jumping back to before, so say I have contacts that I'm bringing into Nimble from, say, LinkedIn Prospector, and now I want to put them into an email sequence. Now I have email one, and I'll use the same use case as, I want to engage with people who I've connected with on LinkedIn. I might want to use the same example before. So maybe I want to exit the contact unsuccessful if the contact has been bounced. And again, I can just put the condition name here for myself. So I'll put bounced contact. I can save that condition and it will show up here. And then say maybe for those who are still in the sequence, I might do a delay. So I can do delay here and I'll wait for 5 days and I'll skip, say, weekends, for example. I'll save that delay here. And now's my chance to start adding another email here. So I can click add message, and then it will take me down to the compose form again. So I'm going to put my message step name is email 2, schedule a call. From here, I'll use one of my existing templates, but again, you can always start from scratch and save that template, or you can also use our sequencing templates that we'll have soon. So for example, I have my email 2 here. I have all my merge tags in place. I think it looks great. And I have the tracking on. I'll save my message. Now from here, the last thing you can do before you publish your email sequence is the end of sequence. So all those contacts who've gone through all those stages, so say that someone has received email 1, their email wasn't bounced and they're still in the sequence, they waited 5 days, and then they received email 2. You can either mark these contacts at the end of the sequence as successful or unsuccessful. So in this case, say that the contact I had before, Jen, she was a really great prospect. I put her from LinkedIn Prospector into my database. I put her into an email sequence. She received the first email, waited 5 days, and then email 2 came out, and then maybe she is a successful contact, and we book a call. From there, say you're happy with your sequence, you can of course publish it, or you can also save the draft and exit later. So if you want to kind of work on this sequence and save it for later and continue to work on it, you always have that option too. And before I do publish it, just to go over a couple things. So we'll talk a little bit more about reporting and what those unsubscribes and unsuccessful and successful contacts look like. But again, just to kind of wrap up what that specific series of actions you would do. Again, you would put a contact into your database, whether that's again from bringing in leads or putting contacts in. Then maybe you might organize them via tag and bulk move them into a sequence. And then you can start building your sequence by adding emails, conditions, and publishing your sequence. So of course, saving it if you want to work on it a little bit more. But from here, I'm going to press the publish button. And then from here, this is what your dashboard will look like once your contacts start actively engaging with your sequence. And I'll hand this over to Gabby to talk a little bit more about what the successful and unsuccessful contacts look like, how to click into those reports, and what those unsubscribes and global stats are. But again, this is a super basic overview of how to build a email sequence. So again, if you want to sign up for our other webinars that will go into a way more deep dive, feel free to sign up for that. It's free and we'll have a recording of it. And I'll also put it in the chat. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen.
All right, thank you, Jenna. I'll go ahead and start talking about the different reports that you're able to see with your sequences that you've set up. So like Jenna mentioned, once you've gone through kind of that whole process of actually setting up your sequence, the reports are really where kind of the fruits of your labor really become super evident. So if you've ever used Nimble's group messaging, the reporting is going to be similar to that. So I'll go ahead and click into a published sequence here, and this is just a cold outreach sample. So what you'll notice here is that on this top bar, I can see some more general reporting. So for example, all of the people who have been entered into my sequence, anyone who's been exited as successful or unsuccessful, and then anyone who's currently active, as well as some engagement too. One thing to note about your reports in sequences is that all of the numbers you see in here, so you're entered, successful, unsuccessful, they're all clickable. So if you wanted to take a look at things like who's currently in your sequence or who isn't in it anymore, all you have to do is go ahead and click into that number and you'll see a full list. Now from here, you can go ahead and select these contacts and tag them. And this really comes in handy if you want to take a look at some of the more specific reporting. So for example, if I have this sequence here and I'm kind of taking a look and I see, okay, in my second email, I don't have any replies yet, but maybe in the first one I do. So I want to take a look at who replied. I can go ahead and click into this reply box here. And I can see that good old Michael Scott replied to my message. So I can go ahead and select his contact right over here. And then you'll see this tag box over here. Now, if you go ahead and click the tag button, you'll see that you're able to tag your contacts just like you would, like Jenna showed with Prospector. So maybe I want to tag Michael here as an engaged lead. Once he's tagged that way, I can then run a segment search in the future, maybe add him to a workflow or into a different sequence, just super easily, again, just by running that segment search. So he's already organized. I don't have to worry about him anymore. Now, something else to note too with your reporting in sequences, all of your messages get reporting. So every step of your sequence, email 1, 2, 3, 4, however many emails you're choosing to add in there. And this is going to come in handy when it comes to actually creating your overall email strategy. So for example, if I see my first message here, okay, it got 6 opens, it was sent to 6 people, that's pretty good. But if I see my second email here only has 1 open and it's not looking super great, this might tell me, okay, I kind of need to adjust things in that respect. So really all of the numbers that you're able to get from these reports of your sequences can kind of allow you to change things around if necessary. Now, Jenna also mentioned that you have the ability to create certain conditions where you can exit your contacts as successful or unsuccessful. And you're going to find all of those contacts in these tabs up here on the top. So you have your first successful list here. And your successful list is going to show you things like who this contact was added into the sequence by. So if you're working on a team, this is something that's going to be super helpful if you want to keep track of that. And you'll also be notified of when they were actually exited from this sequence. And from here, again, you can go ahead and select your contacts and take different types of actions if appropriate. And same goes for your unsuccessful tab too. So this is where you can then view everyone who was unsuccessful and again, choose to take some additional actions. And you will also see the exit method. So you can manually exit your contacts or they're exited based on condition or if they successfully went through the sequence. But either way, that exit method is going to be fully documented right over here. And just going back to the actual report tab here, one other thing to note. So you'll see this global conditions stats on the right-hand side over here. Always by default, the unsubscribed and bounced will be a global condition that's been set. So if anyone unsubscribes to your sequence, and you do always have the ability to add an unsubscribe link in there, you will receive a full list of those people just so that you're kind of made aware that you should not be, sending them more messages in the future. And we kind of covered the bounced emails as well. But again, like Jenna said, if any message is undeliverable for whatever reason, and it kind of bounces back to you, you'll see those people in the bounced category over here. Now, that covers the basics of the reporting. Of course, like Jenna mentioned, we will take a deeper dive into reporting, kind of what you can do with your contacts once you have pulled the numbers from your sequences. But just to kind of go into a couple of examples for some inspiration, I'm going to head back into my sequences here. So currently I have a follow-up and an onboarding sequence just kind of drafted here. We talked about having templates in the future, which we will be having in the very near future. But if you're looking to kind of jump right into sequences and really, get going with it, I did want to set up some examples here just to go off of. Also, I did want to reiterate that you don't have to make a sequence super complicated, even if you wanted it to be something just like a delay. So, for example, sending out one email, waiting a few days for the next one, waiting a few days for that final email, whatever it may be. It honestly, it whatever you feel would work best for your contacts, even if it is based on that reporting, go for it. So in this case, this is just a sample onboarding sequence. So for example, let's say I have something like a product, a software, for example, and you may have noticed this upon, signing up for Nimble, you receive a series of emails after you sign up for Nimble. In this case, you may want to start with something like a welcome email, kind of encouraging them to watch a video or some resources. But again, you're able to add in those different merge tags. So all of the personalization is in there. And these messages are looking, a little more friendly than just some generic email. Now, your second message may be something like a setup guide. So just passing along a helpful resource, anything that you think might kind of progress and help this person along with their journey of sticking to your product. Now, the final message may be something like a referral to support with some additional videos. Again, everything here is just meant to kind of keep that person sticky as far as your product goes. And like I said, these are fully customizable as well. So however you feel the need to customize, you're definitely able to do so. And let me go back here to one more sample. Now, let's say you were doing some follow-up with a lead. Maybe you had someone inquire, whether it was through something like a web form, and you just kind of want to, again, keep that conversation going. You can start off with something like a thank you email, just thanking them for their interest in your product. And then, moving into something a little more tangible, like some case studies or testimonials from specific people that are already using your products or services. And then finally, maybe something like a call to action. So that last message in your sequence requires them to do something like sign up for a trial or sign up for a demo. And in this case, it does get a little more complicated with the actual setup of the sequence. However, it's not super complicated. In this case, all I did was set up a condition so that if they click my sign up link here, they're then exited as successful, and I can go ahead and kind of get the ball rolling as far as setting up that call with them goes. So really with sequences, the overall premise is just to kind of keep that communication going, make everything less manual for you. So you have a lot more time to, nurture those relationships that you've already started. But in the background, Nimble is here doing the work for you, making sure that you're constantly engaging with potential new leads or new customers. So with that, let me go ahead and head back to our slides here. And I will give the floor to Tom. And Tom, you can take it away and let us know what your experience with sequences has been like thus far.
Okay. Well, thank you. I've been testing them for, I don't know, I guess maybe a couple of weeks or a month now. And I have found them to be really simple and really easy. I've worked with lots of CRMs over the years. I've been a Nimble, I think we figured out yesterday on the pre-call, I've been a Nimble customer for like 10 years, I believe. And I've used lots of other ones, just testing them. Sometimes clients have a preferred CRM tool they want to use. And so we'll have to work inside their tool. But I find personally, I always just keep coming back to Nimble, mainly through a couple of reasons. One, of ease of use. I think it's a lightweight program. Salesforce, to create a new lead in Salesforce is just so painful. You've got to fill out so many things, but it's really simple and easy, as you saw in Nimble. One of the things you didn't talk about, which I think is a big power reason to use Nimble, is the mobile app. You guys have a great mobile app too, which if you're somebody who does conference networking, trade shows, the mobile app is a lifesaver. Like all things in Nimble, though, what I think is the great thing about the sequences is they're just so simple. To create an automated sequence in a lot of tools is a pain and very difficult. It's not very intuitive. I find this system to be very intuitive. One of the things you didn't talk about, which I was kind of surprised because it's one of my favorite features, is that, and it kind of goes to, there was a question in here or a comment from Eric Dobbins. Hope I said that right. And he said, it would be nice if you could change the order of emails in a sequence. And actually, while that isn't a feature yet, there is a simple hack to do it. And it's based on one of the things you can do is once you build a sequence, you can just copy it and it'll duplicate the sequence. You give it a new name, and then you can go in and delete, one or all of the emails. And if you've saved each of those emails as a template in your email portion of Nimble, you can just rebuild it really, really quickly by dropping in the templates in whatever order you want them, setting up your delays again. So it's really super simple. The other thing I really like about the ability to build a sequence though and copy it is I'm really a fan of micro targeting when you do email sequences. I have a product called Perfect Pitch. It's a workshop for people who use PowerPoint, Keynote, Google Slides to make presentations as part of their sales process, or even just make those presentations as part of your normal day-to-day work. It's how you sell ideas inside your company. And uh, but what would make that workshop important to you and how I would discuss it and how I would sell it to you would vary drastically depending on who you are and what you do for a living. And so what I've done is in my testing, I've built my base sequence that I have, and then I go in, I copy it, and then I can change the order of the emails. I can change not all emails in all versions. I can go in, for instance, I have one email that references the company's name multiple times inside the body of the email. Well, if your company's name ends in an S and I'm using it in a possessive, so, Nimble's sales presentations would be apostrophe S. Great. But if it was, Nimble's and ends in an S, and then I automated, hey, add an apostrophe S after this, it would look really stupid. It would clearly scream, I've automated this email, I haven't sent it to you. So I can take that whole sequence, duplicate it, go in and change all the places where I'm referencing the company's name in a possessive, so that I don't trip that kind of I don't make myself look silly. And that's to me, it's great because what I've found in my email follow-ups and sequences and drip campaigns is when you can, for instance, embed a company's name inside your template, but don't use their formal name. So, my company is Converse Digital, but if you ever hear anybody talk about our company, they'll just shorten it to Converse. It's like the old days, it was Federal Express, but everybody just called it FedEx. And eventually FedEx changed their name to FedEx, right? But if I was sending in the old days an email to somebody at Federal Express, if I was referencing Federal Express in the body, I would not use the company name field in my mail merge. I would create, as I do now, I create an email company name, and I'll put the colloquial version of their company name in there. And when you do that, it allows you to create these templates that feel more authentic and more real to your customer, and do it easily, frankly, And so I think that's what I've really enjoyed about it. I've been able to, like I said, move people in. I love the ability to just add people one-off, one click from their record. It makes it super simple to just drop somebody in a sequence. And the fact that you can start really seeing at the individual email level as you're going in real time, you can start to see, oh, look, people are opening this email, but they're not opening this one. Maybe I need to go back in and change that one. And you can do it on the fly. You can just go in and edit the sequence. You can create a whole new sequence. You can create a new template. So I think it's really been an easy thing. I think it's an outstanding tool for any type of follow-up, or like I'm doing, where I'm just trying to drip people and warm them up, and really get them to reply. I know somebody said, can I schedule different emails based on if somebody replies or doesn't reply? I think pretty sure the answer to that is yes, but my comment would be, I don't think you'd want to. I think you'd want to just exit them out of the sequence so that I can take over and engage in that conversation myself and try to convert it to a customer. And that's the other feature I love about it. In most automation systems, if somebody replies, I'm going to have to go in and manually change something about their record. I'm going to have to untag them or move them out of a seat. I'm going to have to manually do something. Nimble's taking care of that for me. That little pain in the rear administrative step, Nimble does it automatically. So as soon as I get that live response, I just can engage and I don't have to worry about, oh, wait, I got to go back and change that so they don't get the next email in the sequence, which I think is a very simple thing, but I think brilliant for somebody, and has obviously been designed by somebody who's done this for a living, so that, they built it for the small, the solopreneur or the group that, is trying to, small sales team trying to cover a large geography, which, it seems like we have a lot of those. So I would highly,
Hey, Tom,
yeah,
could I interject beyond this point on replies? Because I really believe
yeah,
that's really the point to this whole thing, right? it's on replies. It's how do you, um, why are we reaching out to people? Because we want to engage with them. Well, the main engagement is them replying and saying something to you. And, they could be saying, stop sending me these emails. And you certainly would want to be careful about putting them on a new sequence based on a reply because, you may not know what the reply is all about. So I agree with you that manual response to a reply is best. But I think that one of the ways to manage that's going to happen soon is based off a reply, you can move them in a stage in a workflow. So let's say that I prospect, 10 people out of LinkedIn. I want to outreach them. Well, I put them all in a workflow, and then I move them into the send the sequence stage, and soon workflows will initiate sequences from a stage. And then if they reply or bounce or whatever, you can then move them into the appropriate stage in that workflow. And then, for the people that replied, you just go look at that stage in the workflow and you manually engage with them. So that's sort of the upcoming vision. And then the other one I just wanted to share was web forms and webhooks. So we put these web forms on our website because we want people to engage with us. But wouldn't it be great if they filled out one form, can go in a sequence? That's coming. But then, the biggest gold mine people have are people they've already sold to, and people ignore their accounting system. Imagine if you had the ability to take anybody who's paid an invoice to 10 days later or 5 days later, put them in a sequence that sends them an email that has a link to a form that asks them about their journey. So you get feedback on how the delivery went and for a referral or a recommendation or a quote. And so what you're doing is you're basically automating nurturing people you sold to, and you'll be able to do that too because you could hook up a QuickBooks invoice payment to a webhook in Nimble, and then that webhook would initiate a sequence, and the sequence has the form template in it, and you can even feed all that into a workflow. So there's a lot of detail here that we're not going to cover it all today, but I just wanted to belabor the on reply thing. And while I agree with you, it's best to manually on reply. I did get on the fly feedback from product management, and he said there will be a way to move people to different sequences soon and a more advanced branching down the road. So if somebody wanted to have an automated response to reply, they could, but you and I don't recommend it. All right, go ahead.
Well, it's not that I'll be honest, it's not that I don't recommend it. I've actually built entire programs. I call it behavioral segmentation, and it's all doing just that. And the goal of the sequence in that case is actually not to sell anything. I'm just trying to capture as many invisible buying signals as I can and write that information to my CRM in real time while I'm having a cup of coffee, sleeping, or doing other work. The technology is doing all that segmentation for me. And then and only then do I figure out who I'm going to start actually reaching out to and actively following up with, because they've self-identified as most likely to want to buy the product. And it's a brilliant way to take, a lot of people, a big list, and find the needles in the haystack. It's great. It's awesome.
Amen.
It's normally, though,
Amen.
requires a tool to do it that costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month to access that tool. So the fact that Nimble will be able to do it, Katie bar the door, the product just got 1,000 times more valuable.
I'm going to belabor that for a second too, Tom, because in most systems are sales tools. Not everybody's selling. Less than 5% of your company's in sales. Nimble is a relationship tool that has sales, but it's really about a team building relationships to achieve some common goal. But sure, we have sales and marketing. But if you want to have sequences in some of the other CRMs, you have to spend $500 a month on their sales hub, or $150 a month for their higher end CRM version of their pipe thing. And that means you got to upgrade everybody in your company, but not everybody's in sales. That means you can't have the whole company in the relationship manager, because it's really hard to pay $150 a seat for customer service or an admin or whatever. And so that's why we price it that way, so that everybody in the company can be in it. And if you want to do specific sales features and you pound the email, well, you can just buy more email. Sends.
Yeah. And, the beauty of the sequencing really for me is what I think is really powerful, especially if you're a small sales team or solopreneur, either way, and you're trying to cover regional or national geography. Uh, the only way you're going to nurture these days, because let's face it, with people working from home or hybrid, the phone's not nearly as powerful as it used to be. The only way you're going to really nurture at scale is through email and maybe social
Yeah.
media. Or your other option is you got to get in a car and go physically drive someplace and meet people, or you've got to, hop on an airplane and go meet people, which is very time consuming, very expensive. When you have tools like nurturing sequence, you go to a trade show, you come back and you've already got a pre-planned nurture sequence, post-show sequence set up based on, I put you in and I tag I talk to you about this product, or I talk to you about that product, and that triggers the appropriate sequence to fire.
Yep.
As a manager or an owner of a company, I can now ensure a minimally viable level of follow-up across my sales team. And I don't have to
You
worry
know,
about them doing anything. It's going to automatically happen. And so, and the beauty of that is that it gives you that guaranteed minimum viable
yep.
outreach and follow up. And
Yep.
then because they get popped out automatically on a reply, I did one of these sequence for this perfect pitch. And on the second email, one of the people replied and said, hey, it's funny you should send this. I just had this very conversation last week with my co-partner over here. I assume you must have a solution, or you would not be sending me these emails. And I was able to jump in and go, yeah, actually I do. And if you'll give me 30 minutes in your office, I think I can show you how I can help you, and I can fix that problem for you, no problem. And now they're a client. We're doing it, and it's a mid-sized 5-figure contract, all from a couple of emails that came out in a sequence. So, the ROI on this kind of a tool to me is beautiful.
Yeah.
I was tickled pink
Yeah.
when I saw it pop up in my Nimble in the
And
pre-beta.
and the key thing is, Tom, is I can't tell you how many businesses I've spoken to that come back from a trade show and they don't even send one email.
Oh yeah, because salespeople get
Right?
busy. They get back and they've
That's
already
right.
got
Well,
sales
it's
calls and
not just
stuff planned.
salespeople. It's anybody at the company. It's the
Mhm.
owner. We all get busy. That's why we all need to be more nimble and get more help. We're getting to the top of the hour. Let's get to the call to action. Why don't you tell us about yours? Where's yours? There's yours.
So because Nimble is a social selling based tool, and it's very digitally friendly. Makes, as we saw, the use of it in conjunction with LinkedIn. We have a course that's specifically designed for solopreneurs, small businesses, or small sales forces, called Prospecting in Pixels. You can go to our website and find it. And because you're a Nimble customer, or you're just here on this webinar with us today, we created a 25% off coupon, Nimble Rocks, that is case sensitive. So when you go to, if you look at the course landing page, you decide you like it, when you check out, you can put that in. It'll save you 25%, at least the first 100 people. But to get it, you have to purchase by midnight on my birthday, June 3, 2024. It's my little birthday gift back to y'all. And I think that like I said, I think you'll find that it's super helpful. We baited it for about 90 days with small business owners and recent college graduates and all kinds of people that were new to sales, and across the board. We found people saying that it was super helpful, especially if you're going to be LinkedIn centric with your prospecting. They felt like it really did teach them a lot. So my little gift to everybody who spent the last hour with us.
Awesome. And then you can flip back to the Nimble one. I think there might have been two there. So if you haven't signed up for Nimble yet, and you do decide after sign up for a trial that you do want to become a subscriber, there's 25% off your first 3 months. So after you sign up for a trial and you go to put your credit card in, there's a code you can use. And I thought there was one more slide there, maybe. Let's see. Just go forward or back. Left or right arrow. There you go. No. Okay. It wasn't. Let's do the questions. So now is a good time to put your questions in if you have not already added them. And I have a list of the questions here. There was a question: what is a workflow? And I'm just going to go ahead and really quickly reclaim the screen and share my screen so I can tell people what that is. And can you tell by the way I'm talking slow that I'm stalling? Okay. Let's see. I just want to make sure all these webinar things aren't there. So I think you're just seeing my screen right now. I've got those webinar things up in front of it. But in Nimble, you can put in contacts. And then once you have the contacts in there, you could also manage your contacts by sending them messages as well as having activities associated with them. But most people who buy CRMs, the only outcome, the purpose of the CRM is to drive a deal. But the reality is not every relationship that you have is dollar denominated. There are like relationships I have, I'm hiring somebody, or I have a customer I'm collecting money from, or I'm reaching out for PR because I want a publication to write about me. That's not a deal. So a lot of people try to manage those sort of people and company related processes with spreadsheets. And I had another tab that was open. I was going to show you an old fashioned spreadsheet that I used to use for outreach. But what we have is we have a thing called workflows, which you could go ahead and define a series of tasks or stages that you want to do to reach out to people to achieve a common goal. And so with Nimble, you can essentially say, what do I want to do first? And then what do I want to do second? What do I want to do after that? And you can even have automations in there. So you could essentially go in there and say, what I can do is if I put somebody into stage one, send them an email that invites them for a meeting, and then basically Nimble will automatically do the different things in stages for you. And so workflows are essentially a way to replace those spreadsheets that are just not really easy to use or manage with a series of cards that you move through stages. And then when you go and look at the card, you can go ahead and see the detail of the person, and you can even have details that you track on the cards, like all the details that you want, all the fields. And so you used to do this in spreadsheets. Now you can do it in Nimble. And we find it really a great way to outreach. And the cool thing is you can easily go and I'm looking for the way to do a new workflow. And for some reason, help me out here, Jenna. Where is the place to add a new workflow? Is it?
If you go into workflows, you might need to expand that other tab next to the dark blue one.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep. Gotcha. Well, anyways, we have the ability to do templates in workflows that'll make it really easy for you to manage, to be able to add predefined stages for common purposes like lead qualification, because you don't want to put unqualified leads in your deal pipeline. Also for outreach for biz dev, PR, HR, etc. And so, so we're really excited about our workflows. And then there is a question about, can Nimble do drip marketing? Well, drip marketing is just a series of emails that you send to somebody, ideally based off logic, which is time and behavioral. And that's all Sequences is designed to do. Now, remember, Sequences enables you to send the maximum of emails that your service provider can send. And so people use Google and Microsoft for that. And the limits are around 2,500 a day. And so if you want to send more than that, we give you 1,000 emails per month, and you can buy additional emails. And when you do want to send tens of thousands, like a newsletter, et cetera, like I shared, we're going to have Mark Automation that's coming out before the end of the year. Another question, with these templates, it will send them individually, correct? Also, if I save it in my Outlook, will it show in my draft folders individually? So Nimble templates are sent through your email service provider. So even if you create a template and send it to 100 people, it'll look like it came from your email. In fact, we send it through your email. So my email is john@nimble.com. if you want to reach out. You got my email now. And when I send an email, it comes from my john@nimble.com email. And that means it's in the history of the contact in Nimble and also in your Outlook. So anything you do in Outlook, it ends up in Nimble. If you add a contact, if you send an email, if you schedule an appointment, you're doing that all in Outlook, but it all is synchronized in Nimble. But you could also do it in Nimble as well. As far as the draft folders, I don't know if drafts synchronize to Nimble. I don't think they do today. I want to put a 5-day delay, but some contacts replied, is there an option to give these contacts another email different from the people who haven't responded? I don't have an answer to that. I think that is the answer that we had before, which is automation based off reply. And the answer from our product team was they're building in the ability to, rather than exiting from a sequence, you can add them to another sequence, which will take care of that question. Jenna, do you have anything to add on that in case I missed it?
Nope, you haven't missed anything. That'll be upcoming soon.
Okay. And then can you connect one sequence to another based on condition? And I think that last answer answered that question, which is yes. Right now you can do, you can exit them, but you can't connect them to another sequence. But what you should look for is not only being able to connect one sequence to another sequence, but being able to connect a workflow to start people into a sequence and base off behavior, non-behavior in the sequence to move them in stages in the workflow, and to be able to connect workflows, sequences to web forms and to web hooks. So in case you don't know what a web form is, you ever go to a website and they say, give us your information? That's a web form. Have you ever gotten an email and said, click this form and click this link and fill out this survey form? That's a form. So the difference is forms could be sent as a link in an email. They could be on a website. Nimble does both. And the data that gets filled out in the form can be used to update or create new records. And based off those new records, you can put them into sequences. And then what is webhooks? Webhooks is really exciting. It's programming without programming. So imagine somebody goes to your Shopify cart and fills out something and buys something. Most people don't do anything with those people. Imagine you take those people that buy on your Shopify and you do a webhook to Shopify, and those people go into your Nimble, and then you can put them on a sequence. Same with your accounting system. If somebody pays for something, you should follow up with them and say, how do we do? Did we do okay? Get feedback. And, would you recommend us, or can you give us some feedback on your service, and have a checkbox on there that says, can we use your quote for marketing? And guess what? If you take care of people and you ask them for a referral or for a quote, they'd love to do it. And that's the kind of business you should be in, is helping other people grow. And guess what? You do that enough, you'll grow. Did we miss any questions that are still out there?
We just had one other comment from Glenn, who said, John, you mentioned Nimble's moving to have MailChimp-like capabilities in the fall. Is there any way to tease us a little bit more?
Did I say MailChimp? I didn't say MailChimp. But you know what? When people think about marketing automation, they think about Constant Contact, MailChimp, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, the like. And, when you go look at any of those systems, they're just really expensive. HubSpot gives you a CRM for free, but you go try to sign up for their sales features, $500 a month for 5 people. You sign up for their marketing features, $10,000 a year. Gosh, that's highway robbery. And I don't believe in that. So yes, Nimble will be delivering the ability to do market automation as you'd all imagine market automation to be, which is different than sequences, because sequences is like a sales rep with a rifle, and marketing is like a bomber doing bombs. You can do it by the thousands. But that'll be out in the fall. And guess what? It won't be just email. When we hook up mass email, we're going to get to text too. And guess what? There's more. We're going to get you to the phone. So if you want to build a set of people and power dial them, it's coming, baby. And so that's marketing. So then what's left? Well, there's sales, there's marketing, and there's customer support, because those are the 3 pillars. And what is customer support? It's trouble ticket tracking. Guess what? That's just a form. And it's coming too. So soon, Nimble will be your complete growth engine for your company, but will make it different than any of those other packages. Is at the heart of Nimble is relationships. It's a contact manager. Heck, Goldmine was Outlook and Salesforce before either existed. Our roots weren't to build something so management can keep the finger on the pulse of the business and the hand around the neck of the salesperson. It was designed to help the salesperson. And guess what? Tens of millions of them loved it. And guess what? Management got nervous and they went and built Siebel and Salesforce to control what the salespeople were doing. But guess what? They forgot to build the contact management. Why? Because Outlook existed and Outlook basically was the contact manager. So Salesforce just became the hand around the neck of the salesperson. That's why salespeople don't use it. The reason they call it Salesforce, you have to force salespeople to use it. Nobody in the right mind would use something like that. You should be using something that's built for you to help you and your team, not just salespeople. Because salespeople don't work in a vacuum. They work as part of a larger team, and everybody in the team is touching the customer. Says my papa, and he was a pretty smart sales guy. So with that, Tom, do you have anything to add before we say bye-bye?
No, I think you've covered it all. Like I said, when we are asked by a client what CRM they should use if they don't have one, we always recommend Nimble. And because of this, it's inexpensive. It's what I call lightweight. It's easy, super easy to use, very intuitive. But you all keep adding these feature sets that frankly aren't available anyplace else unless you really want to pay $500, $600, $700, $800. And so, I'd encourage anybody who's not on to take a look. And if you're on and you need help figuring out how to maximize it more, feel free to give me a ring. I've probably invented every hack you can hack on Nimble. We love it. We use it all the time for everything. And we, like you said, we do use it for all of our relationship mapping, podcast outreach, guest posting outreach, and we have workworkflows for all that. And
that's all the non-sales stuff.
Yeah, all the non-sales, all just,
stuff.
speaking gigs,
and you know
it's just non-sales, just keeping track of where a relationship is, at what stage, and what the next step needs to be to nurture it, and keep it, keep it alive. And super simple, drag and drop. I love that. I love it. It's a great tool.
Most business stuff isn't sales. And so where does everybody else manage their contacts, the non-sales people? Spreadsheets. There's 225 million global businesses, less than 1% use any CRM. Because CRMs aren't built for relationships, but they resort to spreadsheets. Stop using spreadsheets. Start using Nimble. Gabby and Jenna, thank you so much for supporting this and your wisdom on how to use it. When is our next webinar where people can learn in more depth about sequences?
Yep, I'll put it in the chat again. That is June 19th at 1 p.m. EST, 10 a.m. PST.
Awesome. And for all those that attended, we wouldn't be here without you. We're here for you. We do this because we dig growing you. And by growing you, we grow. And with that, have an amazing rest of your day and week. I'll be dancing to the Grateful Dead tonight, but they're not the Dead anymore. They're Dead and Company. And I hope they sing Peggio because it's an old goddess tune from 300 years ago. That's just pretty. Google Peggio, and there's a million people who covered it. It's a lovely song. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.